Hey guys, it's your girl Tracy. So check it out. Just a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Houston, Texas, and I pretty much had anything and everything I wanted growing up. I mean, I had the car in the driveway. Anything I wanted for Christmas was always under the tree. And every other day of the year, whatever I needed was provided. I didn't know what it was to go without lights or gas or having bills paid or not having food in the refrigerator. Of course, the years that I remember, because my birth mother took off and left, right? And so I'm a survivor of trauma. I'm also a survivor of sexual exploitation, drug addiction, abuse, and spent a lot of years caught up in a life that when I was sitting where you are, I had no idea that that was on the other side of some choices that I had made. So the years I remember, like I said, growing up, were incredible, were great as far as material things go. But did you know, out of all those great things that I had, there was one thing that I didn't have, and that was a voice. I didn't have an opportunity or an environment where someone told me having red hair and being 6 foot tall is really cool. I didn't have people around me that told me, Tracy, because you look different and you sound different and you talk different, and because you have a crazy imagination and you're creative and you have a bunch of ideas, that those were all great things. Nobody told me that, right? The dad that adopted me, he was my step-grandfather, and growing up with him was pretty much like being intimidated and feeling like something was wrong with me all the time. And being in that environment, living with somebody that was always, on my case, that was always slamming my door open, that was always pulling the covers off of me to wake me up every morning, to put me right back at the kitchen table and beating on the table. And I would start every single day crying and screaming because I just couldn't understand the homework from the night before. So every night I went to bed screaming and crying and trying to explain why I don't understand, and a dad trying to understand why I couldn't understand. And so very intimidating man, always on my case, always in my face, always questioning me. But I think besides all of that, the thing that was the absolute worst was the look that he always had on his face. And the look that he always had on his face was one of complete disgust. It doesn't hurt so bad when somebody does something once or twice, right? Or even 4 or 5 times. But when you're in an environment or you're in a situation or around someone that does something to you over and over and over and over, you begin to question who you are. And that's exactly what I did. I began to think there must be something wrong with me. My birth mother took off. I've never even seen a picture of my birth father. I'm living in a situation where, look around, everything was great, right? Had all the stuff, the best clothes, had everything there was, but not having the place to say, I had a bad day. I don't understand. I wish I didn't, look different than everybody else in school. Why are things harder for me? I didn't have a place to share any of that, and to always have somebody intimidating me. What ultimately happened for me was I made a decision that I was going to become somebody else. I wanted to be anybody except me. And that all began by developing an alter ego. And developing that alter ego, I had no idea what was on the other side of that. I had no idea that if I could just fix my hair a certain way, dress up and look a certain way, if I could look at dudes a certain way, if I could chop it up with them a certain way, if I could vibe with somebody a certain way, I did not know where that was going to lead me. And so my whole mission is to work with young girls, young ladies and women that are very affected by the sex industry, that are very affected by domestic violence, abuse, sexual assault, drug addiction, all of these things that are affecting their lives, but to show people a mirror, to let them look in the mirror of their own life. Where did that begin? Where did that trauma begin? Because what that did for me growing up in that space and in that headspace and in that environment was it stole the opportunity, it stole the ability for me to be able to speak up, for me to be able to voice my opinion, for me to be able to set boundaries. So I didn't know how to do any of that. But I thought I had found it in developing my alter ego. Now, her name was Cadillac Red, and she was a bad chick. Don't get it twisted. Cadillac Red, that was a bad chick. All the dudes like Cadillac Red. All the guys that dissed her in high school wanted to buy her drinks all of a sudden. All the dudes that wouldn't give her the time of day, all of a sudden, all eyes on me, right? And guess what? It gave me power, so I thought. It gave me a sense of power that I had never experienced anywhere else. I certainly didn't experience it in the house I grew up in with my sister, I was adopted into the family, and so she became my sister, who was absolutely perfect, right? I absolutely love my sister today, but you couldn't tell me that back then, right? Because no matter what she did, it was cute. It was awesome. It was right on. As a matter of fact, she could walk in the house and do something, and it was amazing. It was cute. I walked in the house, shut up, sat down, and I got in trouble for it. Or I got completely ignored. One of the biggest things that I have found in working with those that I have been assigned to help is that either something did or did not happen in our lives that has affected us to the point where we absolutely do not know how to manage anything about how we feel about ourselves. We don't know how to communicate that. And that's why it's so hard to leave that life. Some of you may have mothers that are in that life right now, people that walked out on you, and you're looking for a way to pay somebody back, because that's what I did. I was looking for somebody to pay back. So in developing this alter ego and becoming Cadillac, and it was all about being a baddie and all of those things, I was looking for a way to nurture my pain. I was looking to stop the hate that had grown on the inside of me. I needed to do something with that. So I took that to the clubs. I took that to the parties. I took that to the life. Not knowing that I was going to be introduced to drug addiction, not knowing that several years later I was going to end up in prison twice, not knowing that I was going to actually get my wish, which was I got my wish, y'all. I became somebody else. I completely became somebody else with a $20,000 a month cocaine habit, spending years in and out of jail. And then I did the very thing to my son after I got pregnant and had a child that someone had did to me. I turned around and walked out on his life. Now, you couldn't have told me that sitting in the auditorium at South Houston High School when I was where you're sitting now, wherever you're sitting. But I can guarantee you that you could not have told me that that was going to happen, that because of the situation and me not being able to stand up for myself and me not being able to voice my opinion or have a place to be creative and talk about my ideas and things that I want to do, and that because all of that was shut down, you couldn't have told me that that would have resulted in me pursuing a life that I did not know was going to lead me down a path of sexual exploitation, where I ended up in situations where I was very vulnerable, where, as a matter of fact, not only was I being hurt, I was hurting the men that I was coming in contact with, because it was a sense of power for me. Because for once, I felt like I was calling the shots, because I felt like I was running something. So I just want to tell you that I don't know if that's you, but I don't believe in mistakes, and it's not a mistake that I'm talking to you today. But I do believe that there is something real special. So I love to tell chicks that I work with, man, rock your uniqueness. Get down with your differences. Things about you that make you different, that make you unique. That voice that's been lying to you, telling you that there's something wrong with you because of that. I'm here to help you squash that, right? And so I look forward to the opportunity to working with you to help you walk through some of these things that I walked through, and to build a tight little squad, and so we can make a difference. All right? See you soon.